Hey everybody, welcome to part 4 of the So You Never Lifted Before series. Today we're going to be going over mostly the exercises that you do on day 1 in detail with instructions on how to go about it. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get straight into it. The first thing we're going to check out is the actual program itself. We're going to be focusing on day 1 today, and that means standing calf raise with the focus of the calves, seated hamstrings, focus of the hamstrings, and so on and so on. The main thing to note here is that when you do the flat dumbbell bench and the lat pull down, we want the focus to be on the chest and the back respectively. If you feel the arms and the shoulders more than your targeted muscle of the chest or the back, then there's going to be something that's going to need to change in your form to help that take place. Step 1 of the calf raise is to make sure that you are standing inside the machine in a simple manner. You want to keep your body in a straight line all the way from your shoulders to your ankles with maybe a slight bend in your knees. That's most likely going to be more comfortable. You want to then make sure that you lower your heels as far as possible and then extend by pointing your toes to hit the top of that range of motion. So once you are in that top, you have a really solid contraction in your calves, and you want to make sure that you're in control as you lower it down into the bottom and make sure that you don't bounce. So once you hit the bottom, you then just come straight back up in a smooth, controlled fashion. There are many ways you can do the calf raise. This is not the only method that you can do. You could do it inside of a leg press as well, or you can go ahead and just hold on a dumbbell and just do it on the floor, but then you miss out on that stretch. You do want to make sure that when you do your calf raises that you are able to get a stretch at the bottom if you really are able to set that up. However, some people have issues with their feet or other problems where they don't want to dip their heels, in which case just do it on the floor. Try to get a little bit of calf work in there. It's a very neglected muscle, and so you want to make sure is that you are capable all around. So one of the strategies to do is to start the workout with the calf workout. That way you're not going to just decide to ditch them at the end. Seated leg curl, you need to be sitting in a comfortable manner, making sure that your upper thighs are going to be stable using the pad. And then the goal is just to make sure you extend all the way forward as you bring your heels to your butt. There are going to be methods where you can do this just sitting normally, or what you can do is work it into your plan to do the exercise with this little bit of a lean. And if you lean forward, you can exaggerate that level of stretch. And for some people and some machines, this leads into a much more effective version of the seated leg curl. It does get harder when you are in this position. What that can be used to your advantage by allowing you to do some techniques to make it a more demanding set, where you can actually begin by having this extreme stretched position, and then once you reach failure, you can go ahead and just lean back and it becomes mechanically easier to do the exercise. So here we have an example of me doing this as a full-blown working set with that intensity technique, and you'll notice how much control I've put into this exercise. I'm struggling, but everything is staying pretty stable. And then once I reach that point where I can't do any more, I sit back. And now that I've sat back, I can eke out a couple extra reps while keeping the intensity high and making sure that I bring the exercise to its full potential. This last rep, by the way, it really hurt. So don't do this immediately, but it's a good way to mix it in later on. And there is my death. Leg press is a great exercise to have as a staple in your quad workouts. It is one where you have a lot of external support on you, so it's a very forgiving exercise if you're one who lacks balance or experience. So as you can see, my feet stay in the exact same place. I'm seated into the machine comfortably. I'm getting as far down as I can. And the biggest thing is to make sure is that you are able to maximize your range of motion in a safe manner. So I have myself in this position here where I'm locked in, I'm holding onto the handles. and the sled is able to come down pretty low. You can see my knees kind of go past my chest to a certain degree, and it's done so that my butt does not come off the ground. I'm very stable and safe in this position while maximizing range of motion, and it's going to allow you to safely push a lot. Now, the thing about leg presses is that they're a great example of the strength ending a lot later than you expect. The pain starts pretty quickly into these. So what we can do is transition into looking at me doing this set here. This is going to be a full-blown work set, and I'm going to fast forward a little bit into the start where you can now watch. This is going to be a great example of a set that you would expect would end much sooner than it would. You can watch my face and just see how much pain I am in as it progresses. This is one of the top working sets that you can expect to take place in your own workouts. And what I want to do is make this a useful experiment for you. So what you can do is watch this set and try to figure out when I'm going to stop it. And so, like, right off the bat, I'm a few reps in, and you can already see the coloration difference between my head and my neck in comparison to my legs. I am not happy, but I'm continuing to not just press, but press well. The form is still controlled. I have my knees coming back to the same point every single time, and you can see it's deep, controlled, consistently paced. And even though my body has started to kind of shake a bit involuntarily, I'm not stopping. A lot of people might see that their body is starting to do these weird little things they can't quite control and view that as a sign to stop. But what it is it's literal wiggle room for safety. As long as you're within a certain range, you're still safe. You'll notice that, yeah, I'm shaking, but everything is still controlled very, very well. And I lost track of how many I've done here, but I've got to be close to the end because I look like death. But even with that, notice it's still the same speed coming down, and that's probably the last one there. Yeah, there. Yep, that's my death there. So that's your example of a really hard working set where, if I were really honest about it, I'd call that an RPE 8.5. I would say that's actually not my limit. I could do another rep, maybe another 2 reps if I was really deciding to push it. So keep that in mind as a barometer for you for whether or not you're allowing yourself to reach your limits. Now we're at the flat dumbbell bench press. So there are a couple key things about the bench press to note. Yeah, you're lying flat, but I want you to kind of arch your back a little bit. So that way, if you'll notice, my lower back's not quite on the bench, and you can see that my arms are also not going straight out to the sides. They're at a little bit of a 45-degree angle, and you can see that as I press, I maintain that angle as I go up. The other thing to note is that the dumbbells themselves are always over my wrists, which are over my elbows. My forearms are staying perpendicular to the ground so that my shoulders and arms are always in a nice balanced position where they're not being pulled by the dumbbells. If you are doing your dumbbell benching and you feel the pull of the dumbbell trying to pull you out to the side or come and fall in onto your chest, what it means is that the dumbbell is not straight up in comparison to the ground. You want to be spending the least amount of energy possible to stabilize the dumbbells because they're already balanced over your forearms. That is going to allow you to keep the leverage you need to be able to focus on just pressing using your chest. If you are feeling too much in terms of your shoulders doing the work or your triceps, what that may mean is that your shoulders are out of position. So one of the key things to really, really try and make sure you do is to pinch those shoulder blades together. And if you can do that, that's going to help your shoulders stay in a good, strong position. Because if you'll notice, as I press, I don't throw my arms forward. My shoulder blades being together allows me to stay in a nice, strong position in the back. And you'll also notice my shoulders don't rise. You're not seeing my shoulders go closer to my ears. So if you're watching the coloration of my shirt as it presses, you'll always see there's a gap between my headphone ear and my shoulder, showing that I'm keeping my shoulders down into a strong position. The other part to note is the speed, is that everything is slow and controlled. There's no bounce. I'm not letting the dumbbells come to the bottom and then bounce down and then momentum back up. It comes to an almost dead stop, and then I start to press forward in a way where it's a completely controlled motion. I'm not letting momentum do the work for me. It's always under control. Lat pull downs are one of the most common exercises you see executed in the gym, and unfortunately, a lot of people don't understand the mechanics around it. And I want you to start off on the right foot with these. So, there are a few things to really notice as I'm doing the lat pull down. The biggest thing is that momentum is not doing the work for me, and I'm bringing the bar consistently to about chin level. I'm not artificially forcing it to touch. What I'm doing is controlling the entire motion. So the attachment doesn't quite matter. It's all about what is comfortable for you and your shoulders and your back. So what you want to do is start with a kind of an exaggerated back position where your head is going to be a little farther back, and you're going to have your chest up, so you almost have a string on your sternum that's attached to the ceiling, and you want to make sure you never cave in your chest. If that string attached to your sternum would therefore pass through your face or your chin, then what that means is you've collapsed your chest and you're no longer using your back to do the pull. So what you'll see in this position here is that, yes, I'm at the top of butt, my chest is still forward, my head is still back, and I'm in a position to get a little bit of a stretch in my back muscles, specifically my lats, and that's going to put me into a strong position to then slightly lean back, in which case I can finish the bottom still with my chest up, bar right around the chin, and be in control. And this is going to be a pretty universal. There's going to be some minor exceptions in some things, but pretty universal. So what I can do is even take a completely different style of pull down here, and it's going to be underhand with a close grip, but what I'm saying still holds true. And from here you can see I am staying upright. This is also a different style though. I'm not letting my shoulders come up to the stretch. This is purely focusing on that squeeze portion of the lat pull down. So with this grip, it's really a good way to learn how to focus on that position, and without having the stretch built in there, you get to carry yourself in a more consistent manner. And this consistent manner, focusing on this position here, is going to help train you to, when you do incorporate the different stretch at the front, at the top like this, that you're always going to make sure to finish in the consistent back position. So you can see right here, this back position is the same as this back position here. It's just a slightly different angle of the camera, but the back position is still going to be consistent no matter the implement that you are using. Dumbbell lateral raises are a staple in many workout programs because they're one of the only ways to actually work the sides of your shoulders. It's not a muscle that generally gets used in everyday life, so in order to give it the attention that it deserves, we have to work on it specifically. So here we have dumbbell lateral raises being done from both the front and the back. The biggest thing to note is that as you watch me doing it from the back, you'll notice my neck and my traps, they don't rise. The only thing doing the work are my rear delts. Sorry, not my rear, my middle delts. So the middle delts are going to be hit exactly in this position where you can see the part of my shoulder that is at the top of the motion, the one that's doing the pulling, is going to be those middle delts, because if you look at those dumbbells, you'll notice that the back side of them is higher than the front side. It's especially evident with that left arm there. You could see that with my pinkies kind of being raised a little bit, it tilts and rotates your shoulder, so that way your middle delt is going to be in the prime position to do the force for the movement. The thing to also note is that you'll see my arms are not perfectly straight out. That's actually usually not great for people's shoulders. It creates a little bit of a pinching situation. So if you can, you want to have your elbows bent, but keep that bend consistent. Don't bend that elbow more or less as the exercise proceeds. You want to make sure that you are consistent with how you do it. And you can see in the front here at that bottom portion of the dumbbell raise, you can see even from the front, I have those angles in there, and I look really lopsided here. I might be in the middle of turning. Let's go to a different rep. Or maybe my camera's lopsided. Either way, you kind of get the point. But the main thing is to be consistent with how you do it. Whether the footage here shows my consistency or not, it apparently isn't as clear as I would have hoped. But guess what? I'm still human, and I'm going to keep this in. The big thing is what you want to do is think about the cue of pushing your hands out to your side. You can kind of think Iron Man. If you watch Iron Man when he shoots the repulsors out of his hands, he doesn't bring the arm straight out. He kind of raises it to the side and pushes it out. And so if you can do that same thing where you push your arms out, it'll help prevent your neck and your shoulders from doing the work to pull your arms up. This way, your lateral raise is truly a lateral raise, where you are making sure that the work is being done by those middle delts. It's a little bit of a tricky exercise. It's also one where you want to make sure your ego does not take over. You don't need a ton of weight when you execute it with this level of precision. I can tell you right now, I do not remember the last time I handled even 20 or 25 pound dumbbells on these. The most that I've done in the last year is, I think, 17 and a half dumbbells because of the precision of execution. So keep that in mind and be really particular about your execution of lateral raises. All right, so there we go. Thank you for watching. The big thing about this is to recognize that this is a start, and I don't expect you to execute every one of these exercises perfectly. The point is to learn, try, and start to pay attention to how they're supposed to feel and how they're supposed to look. When you're just starting out, feel free to use mirrors. You want to make sure you can connect what you feel with what you see. And then eventually you want to be able to get good enough that you don't need any kind of mirror assistance, that you already have that awareness of where your body is in space. This can come with a lot of practice, and you're in this for the long haul. Take it slow. So thank you, everybody. I hope that helped out, and just friendly reminder on everything that you are not doing this alone.